Okay, sixth graders. So now this is our printmaking project, and it's kind of a mashup. Now, before you just saw pictures of Jayukatu, which is the traditional Japanese fish print, and that's made by putting paint, ink, whatever, on an actual fish and putting the paper on it and printing it directly from the fish. All right, then the artist will then go and create a scene with that. As you saw in that informational kind of slideshow, that originally it was Japanese fishermen. And of course, at their boat, they did this to kind of preserve uh, a memory of what they caught, because then you got to kind of cut the fish up and everything, and maybe you got a really big fish or a really rare fish, and you wanted to show off. So that's how that tradition started. So um, that was the art history portion of the program. All right, so we're going to be making fish prints, and we're going to be making them using styrofoam printing plates. So um, that's why I asked you to get styrofoam from like meat trays or vegetable trays or something that somebody brought home from the supermarket. Now, you've had like 2 weeks to do this, actually 3 weeks. So I think within 3 weeks, somebody had some kind of styrofoam. Now, you really, this is even, mine are very small, but and this was the same, pretty much the same size. It's big enough for what we're doing, but certainly you can get a bigger one and make a bigger print. You're only kind of limited by how big your styrofoam tray is. Also, if you can only get black, it works just as well. I tried it, just works just as well if you can only get a black one. It's just a little more, difficult for you to see what you're doing on the black. Okay, so this week you are going to concentrate on making your printing plate. And next week you're going to come back and you're going to, I'll show you how to print with it. Okay, and as you know, printmaking, you get to make more than one. So the first thing you have to do is get a picture of a fish, and that's going to be your assignment. Go online, hit fish drawings, decide what kind of fish you want. It could be a cartoony fish if you want. It could be an angel fish. This happens to be a salmon. All right, so you're going to draw the fish and naturally cut your paper so it's no bigger than your tray. I cut the sides off the tray. It's going to be easier to cut out that way. Now, some of you, if you really, really can't find a tray, you might have gotten a styrofoam paper plate. They're a little thin, but you just have to be careful that you don't break them. And if you are doing that, then you're going to have to get a kind of a picture of a fish that's in this kind of a shape that fits on that round part of the plate. And further on past this video, there are some of the ones we have for decorative purposes, for the decorating of the fish. That's the mashup. Because when you decorate it, you're going to use kind of like the Celtic or medieval or kind of tribal kind of fancy decorations to make it more decorative. If you really want to do jai, I can't say it now, jayakatu, you could always, really do it more realistically if you want, but we can't put a lot of detail on. You could, put some detail on and then do the rest in the colors, but that's up to you. And naturally, it's styrofoam. So if you have more than one piece, you can try a couple different things. All right. So those are the two things I wanted you to know. All right. So you are going to be using those examples after this video in order to kind of decide what kind of a decorative element you want on the inside of your fish. All right. So I have a salmon here. And so I drew it and then I decorated so you can see that this is not particularly realistic. All right, so then you're going to cut it out. And you got to do a good job, obviously. You're in sixth grade, so I expect this will go fairly easy for you. All right, you're going to cut it. Please use up, you know, you don't want it too small, so use up whatever space you have to make it. And certainly you can make like a fancier fish than this as far as the shape goes. But you're really, when you're looking for something on the internet to copy, you're just looking for the shape. All right. All right, so there you go. Salmons, they have that weird kind of hooky mouth. All right, so you put it on here. This has to, I think I have to do this a little bit slanted. And okay, so cutting out styrofoam. Now there's a time when a little bit thicker, the real thick styrofoam is a little bit harder to cut. There's always something, right? There's the picture. The black one I had here, where is it? That was like a really good, this is like really thick. This is probably the best. It's, you know, not as thin as paper plate, but not as thick as this. But, you know, whatever you got, you're using. And obviously, if you have a thick one, cut it in sections. All right. You don't have to cut it in one long piece. Move it around when you're cutting something that's curved. Come from different directions and just snip it. All right. You might have to go back in and fix some of your cuts. But when you're going around a curve, it's best to go like that. If you remember when we did our fish, actually, when you were in 3rd grade, at its bottles. That if you're having a difficult time, make sure you're turning. All right, there you go. And then he has this weird little mouth that salmons have a tendency to have. So I am going to cut that out. But, well, that is really thick styrofoam. All right, there you go. There's Mr. Salmon. Okay, now you're going to put the decorations back on them. All right. I wouldn't put this over and just go over it. I would freehand draw it. So you should have a design on here. First of all, fish eyes. They got the big thing in the middle and then a big eye around it. All right. So this may change a little bit as you're drawing it. All right, I'm going to say you do not want a super sharp pencil. As a matter of fact, I think colored pencils are probably your best bet. They're not that sharp. You see that? You don't need to go deep when you make these designs. You need to kind of go wide, if I can say so. All right, so let's do this. And what you should do is if you can, like, close your eyes and feel it, you should be able to feel all the, you know, where it's indented. All right. So here's a fin here, and here's a fin here. All right, you could go back over your lines. And please put designs on your fish, but you don't have to go to town on the designs. Oh, he has another thing here. All right, I'll put that on. All right, here's what we have so far. All right, so when you do this, you kind of want it to be wide, not deep. All right, now I put a very simple kind of plaid type of, or window pane kind of. Whoops. All right, here we go. Here is our salmon of knowledge, which is like a Celtic myth. Fish, they are in all kinds of cultures just because they have fed us for so many years, you know, as humans. Okay. right, now, you know what? I'm going to show you this. If you want circles, you can go like that. These will not be colors inside. But if you want to put something like that on it, you could. I wouldn't put a ton of them on. All right, there's our fish. That's all you have to do this week is get that done. All right, next week when you come back, I'm going to show you how we're going to print it. Once again, this is a little bigger, so it's a little bit, has a little bit more detail on it. And the black is, I just retraced that so I could see if it worked in black. It certainly, it works. All right. This is not your project, guys. You're bringing it back next week and we're going to make these. So that's your job.